Yeah.
Welcome in our first Monday live draft with Tyler and I taking over our own night. No more filling in for Lucas. We are here. Ty, how do you feel about a little Monday live draft action?
Man, this is this feels a little different, but you know what? The goal is the same: to enter these drafts, to dominate, and to win the top prize.
Yes, of course. Tonight we're going to be doing a Best Ball Mania 5 draft. So if you want to try to get in, I know we've had some stream snipers, Yo Swish Incorporated. Yo. If you guys want to try to get on this draft, we got a couple people in here saying hello. Hello to everybody. Ooh, yippee.
What's up, everybody?
If you want to try to get on this draft with us, head on over to Underdog Fantasy right now. And if you click on join the draft at the same exact time we do, there is a pretty decent chance that you will be drafting with us right now. We're doing a Best Ball Mania 5 draft, like I said. If you haven't signed up for Underdog Fantasy before, code fellas, $250, Ty. They're matching right now. $250. Absolutely
$250.
ridiculous. So, like I said, head on over. What were you going to say?
By the way, it's not just matching you up to $250. You are getting an Olympic free square as well. I know that the U.S. men's basketball team is kicking off their knockout rounds tomorrow. So you're going to get a free square of a U.S. player on that. Graham, hello. Good to see you. But you also get our 2024 draft guide for free.
For free.
$0, $0.
We're also joined by our good buddy Darth tonight.
Yes. Shout out to Darth.
Funny story about Darth. When I moved in this house I'm in now, they left everybody. What's up, Destruction? They left everything in this house. We bought it as is. And the only thing that was really worth keeping was Mr. Darth Vader. So he is making his appearance on his first stream. A basic human doing basic things. That's lit.
That's lit.
That's what we'd like
yes,
to see.
Sir. Yes,
we're going to kick off this draft in about a minute and a half. You know, we'll give the people a little bit of time if they want to get ready, try to hop in. I know Lucas and Pete last week were dealing with some stream snipers. Is what it sounded like. They're talking up some players. So if that's your game, if you want to snipe us all night long, you know, we'll give you that advantage. We still think we can beat you in this draft. Like I feel pretty confident tonight, Ty. I think this might be the best team we are going to draft.
Can you all see me? I think we can see your comment. We haven't joined the draft just yet.
No, we will be joining at 5 in about 30 seconds here, Ty. Does that sound about right? 30 seconds?
Yeah, sounds about right.
All right. So we're prepared. Should we just enter like 143 entries quick and try to draft them all at the same time in a fast draft? Just scrolling back and forth. Then at least we'll get a high number pick or early
right.
pick.
Well, Lucas will then, when he goes live on Wednesday, so make sure you're tuned in for that. But when Lucas goes live on Wednesday, he's gonna see that he has there's no funds to enter
no funds in the fella's account.
He's gonna go, what the heck happened? And we're like, oh, we had to try as many times to get a top 5 pick.
All right, we're gonna enter here in about 5 seconds. So I'll count it down if you're trying to join with us. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see. 4 people left. So if you want a chance to get in, head on in. Ty, give us your guess. What pick do we get tonight? What pick do we get? What do you think?
I am feeling like the 109 is going to be our
don't say that. Don't say that.
That's my luck though. That's my luck when it comes to
104.
Drafts.
104 right here. That's what I'm feeling.
How about like the 103? The 103.
I don't hate the 103.
Graham 106. I don't mind the 106.
I want 108 or higher. That's kind of what I like. Oh, let's see.
Oh boy.
Let's see.
Showtime.
104, baby. Let's go.
You are the
Hey,
good luck charm here.
I called it. I called it.
Let's
Like to
go.
see.
All right,
So
ladies and gentlemen, those of you in the comments, let us know. Everyone knows that the top three are McCaffrey, CD, and Tyreek. Let us know who you're taking at the 104.
yes,
And if we agree with it, we might take that player. If we don't agree with it, we might not take your player. But I want to see who you guys would take at the 104 because that's really where the draft starts. That's where it feels like it starts.
can't argue with Jefferson. Brees there is interesting. We typically, I know, Ty, I think you're the same as me. Typically a Jefferson, Chase, or Amon-Ra at that point. Is that kind of where you're landing between those three wide receivers? Are you Jefferson all the way? Where are you at? You typically at the 104. Where do you land?
I try to mix it up the best that I can just because like I just view Chase, Jefferson, and Amon-Ra just very similar to each other. So I think it looks like a lot of people are saying Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra. We can go Amon-Ra here.
Let's try it.
Let's try it. I like it. Little Amon-Ra
Let's try
action.
it.
I don't
And
hate it.
I'm
Like you said though, it's a tier right there. It's those three wide
yep.
receivers. I don't think you can go wrong with either of them, with any of them.
Mhm. So this gets me thinking. I'm gonna see for myself where we have our exposures for these top three guys.
Okay.
Just because again, I'm curious. Like I don't know what we've done so far with those three wide receivers.
Yeah.
7% of drafts on Amon-Ra. Jefferson is at 7%. And there has been zero Jamar Chase.
Interesting. So we
So
should have gone Chase for the exposure.
we should have gone Jamar Chase, but hey, you know what? You can't be too mad at
Yeah.
Amon-Ra.
No, and if we're being honest, Amon-Ra, just like this comment says, he is probably the most consistent. He only had 6 games last year under 18 fantasy points. He only had 1 game under 13 fantasy points in full PPR. Last season, obviously, this is half, so a little bit different scoring wise. But right, you're not going to lose in the first round if Burrow doesn't come back healthy. That really hurts Jamar Chase. If Sam Darnold, JJ McCarthy aren't it, that hurts Jefferson. Amon-Ra doesn't really have one of those factors, and a lot of times when we talk in the first round, you can't win your league in the first round, but you can certainly lose it. And I'm not saying Jefferson or Chase are going to lose it, but I'm saying between the three, the guy that has the least, likely odds of those three to have something happen drastic, I think would be Amon-Ra.
Yep, that's exactly it. I mean, there's an argument to be made too that when all offenses are clicking and healthy, Detroit might be the highest scoring offense compared to Cincinnati and Minnesota. So
tied for most touchdowns in the NFL last season.
I mean, they didn't really do anything to
No, they didn't change anything.
So there's no reason to doubt that Amon-Ra can't. Oh, Modog, that he can't, be another, very solid first round pick.
So we saw a little bit of a fall here with Puka falling to the 201. So, and obviously, a little bit of, that worry with the injury. Ty, do you think he's in danger of being a bust pick with that knee injury, or do you think he's still fine and maybe we just be a little more hesitant and move him a little more into the second round?
I think the best way to describe Puka is that he, what really feels like the top 7 wide receivers that are going in the first round, right, all the way to Garrett Wilson. It feels like Puka got elevated into that top 8 then, just because he is the best remaining wide receiver of all the ones that are left after the top 7 go.
Yes.
So kind of by just virtue, right, by de facto, almost by association, almost you could say, he got pushed into the first round. But I think when you talk about Puka in the next tier wide receivers, it makes a little more like you feel a little bit better. So like having those kind of expectations in some way is ideal is better in my opinion, but
Where do you want to go here? Do you want to go running back? Do we take Achan here? Do we get
I feel like,
Kyron on the come around? Go wide receiver? What are you thinking here?
gosh, I'm not really a huge fan of any of the wide receivers,
Evans,
especially when like I would say Achan here,
Achan?
honestly.
All right. We'll shoot upside. So we took a little more consistent player with Amon
Yeah.
Ra, and now we go, okay, let's take some upside here. Let's go Achan. So with a running back wide receiver start, let's go, Nick. With a running back wide receiver start here, where do you see where you want our next pick to go? Are we going wide receiver? Or are we going running back? What is your thought? Or are you just best player available?
I think at this point it's best player available. Now, yes, it is best ball mania, so like you do want to you want to stack up pretty, you do want a lot of receivers and a lot of top end wide receivers, but at the same time, that does not mean you go out of your way to take a receiver when there is an obvious better player available. So like I'm not going to say their names, but I think the two guys that you and I would agree on that are the best players remaining, if we can get one of them at our next pick,
Yep.
like we will right here, like either one of them I'm cool with.
Yep. So we have the options still here. We got Kyron, we got DK. Who do you want to go with? Do we go wide receiver because we know the drop off so dramatic? Or do we go Kyron, who I think we both have ranked as the better player?
Man, if you go Kyron, that's 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds. Your teams aren't you don't feel great about those teams, but he's the better player. I don't know. We can go DK here.
I think we go DK, and I think it's close enough between those two that I'm willing to take DK there. Obviously, like you said, I think both of us have Kyron ranked higher. It's just when you get down, it really kind of forces us into the box of we have to go wide receiver with our 3 of our next 4 picks then. Right?
Yeah.
Because the wide receiver drop off so dramatic. Whereas I think there's running back depth, running back talent further down the board that we can kind of make up that gap with Kyron.
Yeah. I do want to go back to this comment though from Ralph about Puka, right? He shouldn't go in the first, late second, early third because Cooper Kupp is healthy. The reason why Puka will at worst go in the middle of the second round is because of being in the Rams offense, and Puka will have the higher week to week upside compared to Cooper Kupp. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be weeks that Cooper Kupp won't outscore Puka Nacua. But what you're getting with Puka Nacua is the more downfield threat compared to Cooper Kupp. You're getting a guy that can become, I'm not going to say another Cooper Kupp, but we did see Cooper Kupp when Cooper Kupp missed time. Puka Nacua was essentially the new Cooper Kupp in the offense, not in terms of utilization, but in terms of just the production that he put up. So you're paying a bit of a premium on Puka in some ways, but you know what you can get if things were to play out in his favor. So I understand that there will be some people that will say like, yeah, he's the worst first round pick, or he shouldn't. Yeah, like in this, like he should be going late second. I kind of get it, but at the same time, like there is a very valid and legit reason for why he's going late 1, early round 2.
For sure. And I think 2020 DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett when you think Puka and Cooper Kupp. That's at least where I consider them to be. Maybe not, wide receiver 7, wide receiver 8. That's not what I'm saying. But in that same, tier where season long, I think they're actually going to be pretty close. But, just like DK had that higher ceiling week to week, Puka still does. And it's not to say Cooper Kupp can't pop off each week, right? Cooper Kupp can still put up 35 points in a week. He can still have 150 yards and a tutty. So
Feel like we need to talk about this.
What do you think?
There has been there has been so much Brandon Ayuk talk today that you can't help but feel like something, will happen soon. I will say, even though the Steelers seem to be the most reported team, I'm still going to be shocked if it's actually Pittsburgh, because I just don't think that's the kind of move that Pittsburgh has done. And I shouldn't say I think they haven't made that kind of move in the past. Like that is just not their forte. That's not what they do for business, but gosh darn it. Like, it makes sense for the Steelers because they have a Brandon Ayuk need on their team. but I don't know if I would like it from a fantasy perspective because it's it's an Arthur Smith offense. So I mean, I'm gonna be surprised either way.
Yep, for sure. All right, we got some options here, Ty.
Yeah, we do.
Do we go ETN? Do we try the Lamar Mark Andrews stack? Do we hope for that? What way are you leaning here?
Oh man, I'm naked hurts almost just because it's a
You
value
think
here. Like,
over Lamar, or do we go Terry? I know you're like your guy Terry. You got
nah,
8 seconds, so you got to pick.
I feel like we go Hurts. I think we go
Hurts? You
Hurts.
you think naked hurts?
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
all right.
It's
Why hurts there?
best player available, and I know that like ETN can be a value like late fourth, but like we are talking about the guy that has the best chance of finishing as the quarterback one overall. We're getting him at the end of the fourth round, and like we could have targeted the Lamar or Mark Andrews stack, but um, I don't know. There's some maybe the best way to say it is my draft strategy all summer so far has just been the values, finding guys that are sliding. And I know that Hurts didn't slide that much. It was only 5 picks past his ADP. But for a guy that has number 1 overall upside at his position, I mean, kind of have to take advantage of that, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. VTN slides then, are we going that value? Now that if he fell, what would that be? Almost 10
Yeah,
picks past ADP.
honestly, yeah.
Don't love any of the wide receivers on the board, really. Oh, never mind. Well, there you go. So that ruins it. Where do you lean now? Where do you lean now?
I think we go either Rashee Rice or Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I think I lean Ridley just because of the uncertainty of Rice potentially missing, multiple games. And then also with the D-Hop news
injury.
and him,
Yep.
the fact that if he's not ready week 1, you could have 3 or 4 weeks where it's just Calvin Ridley. And
Yeah,
you gotta love that.
I like Ridley there. So what is Brandon Ayuk's true value? Going late second on sleeper seems a high price. I agree. I
think
agree, brother.
All 3 of us are kind of in that boat.
Yep. I mean, I just did an ADP video over on our TikTok and we posted over on our Shorts channel, by the way, over on YouTube. And I will transition that real quick into a shameless plug. Our podcast episodes that we post twice a week now, that is going up to 3 times a week, which is just much more in-depth analysis about all the takes that we have in our rankings and our stat projections, all those things. More in-depth analysis is over on our new podcast channel, the Fantasy Football Fellas. I think it should be, the link to that channel should be in the description of this live stream. Go subscribe over there. Greatly supports us and we greatly appreciate that. But back to that ADP video that I was talking about. Ayuk's ADP over on ESPN is pick 41. That's early 4th round. That is much easier for me to say, yes, I'll take Brandon Ayuk than late second on sleeper, or even middle. Is it middle or is it end of second here on Underdog too? Like no matter where Brandon Ayuk goes, late second just feels too rich for me.
Yeah, and I think we've kind of talked about this. For me, it really feels like, Marvin Harrison Jr., Chris Olave, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, Deebo Samuel, Devontae Adams, I kind of like 210. Mike Evans, I kind of like here. Even at you, it feels like these guys are all, though, late second, 3rd round wide receivers, but we just don't have anybody who feels like they fit in that category. So we've moved all these guys up. And that's kind of how I feel. That's why I like to go in HN there, because it's like, oh, then we get DK, who feels like a 3rd round wide receiver in the 3rd round rather than reaching on one of those other wide receivers.
Yep. Philly asks, would Saquon and Hurts be a good stack in redraft?
I feel like it's kind of a negative stack, right? Because I feel like if Hurts had a good rushing game, it hurts Saquon. So I don't know I don't feel like it's a necessity, right? I don't think I'm going to go out of my way, but at the same time, I don't think Hurts is going to, or taking Saquon early is going to deter me from taking Hurts at ADP or past ADP.
Like it feels like it's a negative stack in terms of the touchdown production that those guys will have, that it feels like it's either going to be a Saquon. I don't want to go like game by game, but like I have a feeling that like we may see like 18, 19, 20 carries a game from Saquon with 0 touchdowns, but Jalen Hurts has 2 or 3. Like that's kind of what I feel like. So it's not necessarily like the volume that they're going to vulture away from each other, but it's just the touchdown production that you're going to the inconsistent touchdown production week to week is what would it pushes me away from doing that kind of stack and redraft, but they are still very, very solid picks by themselves.
Alrighty, let's look at the board quick and kind of game plan here. We're sitting 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 3 wide receivers through round 6. Are we targeting
That
David
Jameson
Montgomery?
Williams? Was that Jameson Williams that went?
That was Jameson Williams right after Worthy.
Oh my, what are we doing here?
So target Monty here to kind of get a Detroit stack going. Are you looking Kittle if he's still here? Do you like Watson or McConkey? What are you thinking here? Irving Kamara and just go Huith? I think
it's best. I think pass catcher. So
I
want to say it's the top 2 guys, Kittle or Watson. Like I like Kittle for the Detroit with Amon-Ra.
True.
I'd say we go Kittle here.
I kind of like it, and we've talked about it a lot. Your draft feels so much better when you get one of these top 7 tight ends, right? I mean, even I think we can even throw Ingram in there. I'm kind of coming around. Even Ferguson,
Yeah.
I don't feel quite as great, but and even Kittle, maybe Kittle for me, I guess, is closer to the Ingram Ferguson tier, right? I like those top 6 a little bit better. But you just feel better having a guy that can put up, like Kittle, has a shot to put up 30, even 40 plus in a game. And just having that in your tight end position is just an awesome feeling.
Agreed.
Whew.
We got to figure out.
Lose our Monty there.
Just fine. I want to hear your thoughts on this. What if we go James Conner here?
I don't hate it.
Just because I think like
over Jones.
I don't want to be the bye week bro, but the bye week and
you're right.
Finding some kind of consistency in the backfield, like Achane might not be the most consistent versus James Conner. Like, that he's probably going to be the lead back for the majority of the season.
Yep.
Right. So that's, like, I don't mind Aaron Jones, but I don't want him to be the next guy up if Achane was to have a day off.
For sure. How do you guys think Monty and Raheem Mostert will be? It's funny that you put them together because we actually just talked on the mock draft episode, which comes out tomorrow morning. We kind of see them as very similar players this season. Both have 15 touchdown upside in their roles right now. I'm not saying they're going to hit 15, but double-digit touchdowns feels well within the realm of possibilities. And they got a much younger, faster pass-catching back out of the, coming out of the backfield. And you're getting these guys, Monty in the 7th, and you're getting Mostert in the 8th, and sometimes even the 9th round. So it does feel like Raheem Mostert is kind of the better value of the two. But at the same time, I feel like Monty might be a little safer knowing he's, a little bit younger, a little less tread on the tires, a little less, consistent injuries as Mostert's had. What do you think the upside for both those guys is this season? Like, where do you think they could finish?
I mean, I think both of them can be top 20 for sure. Just because of the roles that they're going to have with early down work and goal line and all those kind of things. I don't think it's that crazy to say that Mostert probably has the better chance of outscoring David Montgomery this year, just based off of what we saw last year. That being said, I don't know if we're going to see 18 rushing touchdowns again from Raheem Mostert. And that is what literally catapulted him into being a top 5 running back last year. So, I feel much better taking one of those two guys as my 3rd running back versus my 2nd running back in no matter what the format, right? Like PPR, best ball, whatever it is. I feel much better about having those guys as my third running back option instead of my number 2, but I'm not like completely dreading or like devastated by having one of those guys as my second running back.
Definitely, for sure.
Let's see here. Graham, what do you think I could get McCaffrey and Josh Allen on the same team? Yes.
However, it's scary taking a quarterback when you're on that turn there. That's kind of where I'm at, right? Because it's just such a long wait. So your third best player is then the third best wide receiver, running back, flex player, I should say, is that last pick of the 4th round. Then that's what's a little nerve wracking to me if I was to take Josh Allen on the turn there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple would you rather kind of proposition. Would you rather have Josh Allen and then, name a 4th round wide receiver, or would you rather have a 2nd round wide receiver, 2nd, 3rd round wide receiver, and I'm trying to think of 3rd, 4th round, 4th round quarterbacks, like Hurts. A Lamar, Hurts, if you can get a slide on him, like.
Yeah, we just took Hurts at the end of the 4th. Mahomes went in the 4th. Lamar was in the 5th this draft.
Like, I think that's a pretty straightforward. I think, like, yes, like the intrigue of like, oh, the quarterback won and Josh Allen, like, oh, that's exciting with Christian McCaffrey, but at the same time, like, there's a bigger drop off from your wide receivers than there is from Josh Allen to any of the other quarterbacks.
I mean, you look at our board right now, we're in the middle of the 8th. CJ Stroud's still on the board. Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love. All those guys can finish within, a couple points. It's the slide on CJ Stroud, Ty. 2 drafts in a row.
It's
just been crazy. I don't think we can take him here, unfortunately. I just don't think our team at this point is built for it. Wow, Jordan Love going ahead of him there. Quarterback 10 going over quarterback 6. Joe Burrow going ahead of him. Has the fantasy community just talked down CJ Stroud so much that we're just like, we're out on him completely? Is honestly, that kind of where we're at?
If that's what it feels like. But at the same time, like, this is the pendulum swing for the fantasy community to get CJ Stroud more appropriately priced, then I'm all here for it.
For sure. All right. Where do you think we go here? Do we take a running back? Do we go wide receiver?
This feels, I don't like.
Gross board. Sutton?
I feel like it's Sutton. Like, I don't mind Jonathan Brooks. I don't mind Raheem Mostert, but like, I think the receiver need is greater here versus those. Yeah, like.
Already have an H-An too. I don't know if we need 2 Miami running backs.
Yeah.
Because that really does feel like a backfield that's going to be one guy, one guy's on, one guy's kind of, like still good, but not, they're not going to both put up 40 in a week.
Yeah. We mentioned Evan Ingram. I don't know how long ago it was, but most targeted tight end last year, one of the top overall. Jacksonville has new receivers. Ingram will be Trevor's security blanket again. Long story short, all of his major production last year came when Christian Kirk was out and in the last 5 weeks of the season. This is I don't want to say it's a new offense, but yeah, you mentioned the new receivers, like Christian Kirk is going to be back healthy. Brian Thomas Jr., who will take time to develop, but a first-round wide receiver. And they went out and spent money on Gabe Davis. There is I don't want to say like it's a too many mouths to feed situation, but what we saw the last 5 weeks of the season is not what it is right now for Evan Ingram.
What are you thinking here, Ty? Do we go Jonathan Brooks and just play? Hopefully he comes back from the injury. Just take a little risk there.
Yep, I think this is the Jonathan Brooks spot because we kind of mentioned him with Raheem Mostert at our last pick, and I was more in favor of Brooks than I was Raheem Mostert, but I was like, I don't really feel like I want to take on the injury risk right at that pick. But getting a value on him 9 picks after his ADP, like, yes, he is going to miss the first 3-4 games, but who knows? Like, you never, like, taking advantage of the slides, for talented players that, yes, may not be on the most ideal offenses, but like just in general, good players that slide, like, seems to always be the way. Like, it should be what you should be looking for in these
Mhm.
drafts.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely risk, right, that he doesn't really even fully like get back, full workload till week 8, week 9, right? I mean, there is that risk,
Mhm.
even week 11 at his bye. But this is best ball, so that's our right, because if we can, sit on the bench and then pop off the rest of the season, that's exactly what you need. Because then you're not worried about picking. Oh, is he ready to start? Am I, missing that week? Right. Once he's there, he's in our lineup. He's kind of locked and loaded. And that's um, Hubbard isn't a starting caliber running back. He just isn't. He's kind of proved that over the last 2 years, which is fine. He's been a phenomenal backup. He's filled in that role good enough. But once Brooks is healthy, this is his backfield. It's going to be his backfield. We know how talented Brooks is. So that's not the worry. It's just in a redraft league, it's hard to sit on him, for those first couple of weeks, knowing, hey, it might not be till week 7, week 8, like I said, till you're really getting the full Jonathan Brooks experience.
People are down on Stroud because of the lack of rushing yards. He's slipping down to a value position. I wouldn't even, so I don't want to nitpick, but I wouldn't even call it a value position. I think it's just appropriate position. Like, I don't want to be the guy that's like, I said it first, but dang it, it feels like it was almost 2 months ago now when I first brought up CJ Stroud as an overvalued player right now in drafts because of this.
Yep.
That you need an MVP season out of CJ Stroud to at least like make his draft capital feel like it's well spent.
Yeah.
You combine that then with the lack of rushing upside. You combine that with maybe just an over efficient first year in a Bobby Slowick offense. Like, we don't think it's necessarily going to like come back down or that he's going to regress or anything, but like there's legitimate reason for him, sliding down draft boards. And I don't know if we're ever going to get to a point of where we call CJ Stroud a value in drafts. I just think where he's going to end up is going to be what's appropriate.
For sure. And I mean, we're going to need to see, right, if he stays at the quarterback 6, it's got to be 4,600 yards. It's got to be 30 touchdowns and 3 on the ground.
At least,
to return on value. That's not even to beat quarterback 6. That's just to be the quarterback 6 in points per game this next year.
Mm-hmm.
What's the worst draft pick in a 14 team league? I think it's 12, honestly.
Yeah, I would say any of the last 3 picks.
I say 12 just because you can't game the board then, right?
Yep.
11 in the turn, you can kind of game that board and go, okay, I take this guy here. 12, you just got to make your call on who the best player is and hope that, a guy that you like comes back to you, which in a 14-man league, could be a little rough there.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we want to go here? I can show you our team quick. We got Hurts, Achane, James Conner, Jonathan Brooks. So we do have 2 week 11 buys.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got Amon-Ra, DK, Calvin Ridley, Cortland Sutton, and George Kittle.
I would have said Brandon Cooks just to get another receiver, but now that he's off the board,
do we go Goddard just for a little Philly stack here?
Nah, I kind of like Zeke here, to be completely honest.
Just go gross. I'm always for a good Zeke pick. Always for a Zeke pick.
Just because I think like there is a chance that early on in the season it's going to be a pretty large, workload for Zeke. That kind of takes care of the action and game time that Jonathan Brooks misses. And it's not even that like Zeke will completely like go away or fade out by the end of the season. I think he then maintains just kind of goal line upside the rest of the season then.
Yeah, I mean, Zeke's a guy we've talked about a ton this offseason, and it's just going to be gross. And you're going to be okay with that, but more than likely volume's going to be there. More than likely he's going to fall into the end zone.
Yep.
How do you feel about Kamara and DJ Moore this season? I'm in on both. I'm pretty high on both, and I'm the lowest of us on Kamara. I know. So we do have that. You and Lucas are definitely higher than I am. And then I also am a fan of DJ Moore. But yeah, I think both have. I think Moore's got top 20 upside. I think Kamara's got top 10 upside at the running back position. Do I think they're going to necessarily finish there? Probably about a 40% chance, 30-40% chance for each. But I'm still in on both this season.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm the same way.
For sure. All right. We got to go wide receiver here, right? Is that what we're feeling, or do we go tight end?
Yeah, no, I think we go receiver here. Well, it's a value on Goddard at this point.
It is.
And I do kind of like, I think we go Goddard actually.
Just to get a little Philly stack, and play the value game still.
Value game, Philly stack, and the fact too that like in the weeks that George Kittle only gives you 4, 5, or 6, Goddard might give you 7 or 8, right? So I think that might not be like the most like the highest like upside pick week to week.
Yep.
I feel like that checks more boxes than just a upside box. So
no, 100%. And Goddard's he is more than capable of a four catch 50-yard and a tutty, kind of week. So that's definitely more than capable for Goddard.
Don't mind me. There's just a spider like right in front of me.
I'm wondering what you're looking at. I'm like, what is this guy doing? He's dodging up and down, moving all around.
Well, because like it kept moving around us, so I was following it just to make sure that it wasn't gonna like get anywhere near me, and I trapped it in this handy dandy Mike and Ike's bag.
Oh, there you go. Kyrie Williams or Jahmyr Gibbs from Cordy Plays.
Great question, because I recently finished up my NFC restatting, you could call it, or just updates. And the way that things shake out for me is I've got Gibbs as my running back 4, and I've got Kyron as my running back 5, but I do have Jahmyr still outscoring Kyron by a considerable amount.
Yeah.
So I would go Gibbs.
I agree. It's Gibbs. I think, though, if Kyron can retain the entirety of the role that he had last year, it's going to end up being Kyron. It's just, I think we're just worried enough that Corum is going to be involved just enough where it's like, Kyron, I think I'm still around 16, 17 points per game for, Kyron next season. Like, it's not like I'm expecting this huge drop up. I just don't think that he's going to get the same volume that he had last season, in order to 1,100 yards through 12 games, in order to have, double-digit touchdowns through 12 games. I just don't see that happening with Corum in town, with kind of the way they've talked about, hey, Corum has been really good pass blocking as well, right? Because they can use Corum in multiple situations.
Yeah. I mean, if you were think about it like this, like if last year, right, his stat production and his carries and all those things, if that's at 100, right, at 100%, if Corum takes away just 20% of that, it's not the same as, obviously, right? Like that. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that like Corum doesn't need to take away a ton, but if he takes away just enough, then talking about then there's really not a great chance of Kyron kind of repeating that running back 2 status in points per game.
Yeah, and I mean Kyron is a little bit of an undersized back too, so right they're going to be a little more hesitant about just throwing him out there, every single week. But yeah, so it's just, I don't know. He was 4th in opportunity share last year among all running backs with almost 80%. So that's something that's probably going to come down a little bit as they look, because the Rams are all in this season, right? I mean, they know Stafford's aging, Cup's aging, so they are all in. I feel like we have to go wide receiver here.
Yeah, scroll down to who we have so far, because I kind of have
Amon-Ra, Ridley, DK, and Sutton.
I kind of feel Leggett here.
I was actually going to say, do we want to go Leggett? I kind of like that picture.
Just because we have Brooks, so we can kind of go with the Panther stack a little bit.
The backdoor stack, as they say.
The backdoor stack. Yeah, I mean, hey, and you never know. Like they may, we might get a Jahan Dotson push for whatever the reason be. I'm not expecting it, but at the same time, like, you never know. You never know.
Yep. Yeah, is Dawson the pick if he's still there for us here? Is that what you're feeling?
I think he's got to be,
That's kind of where I'm at.
because I'm
Oh, never mind.
we only,
Doesn't matter.
yeah. I'm kind of looking at the quarterbacks. I'm like, we don't have Atlanta. We don't have a Ram.
Yeah, and
We
especially if
don't
we're gonna
have,
go young now, we don't need really 3 quarterbacks having Jalen Hurts as well.
mhm.
Right, because you're expecting Hurts to be the starter 95% of the weeks. Yeah, that's why we
Yep.
took him as early as we did. I'm always a Jaleel McLaughlin fan. We could go a Denver stack then.
Yeah, because we got Sutton then too. So
Yep.
lock ourselves into one of those
Yes.
later round quarterbacks.
Yep. And I'm a McLaughlin fan. I think he's going to have a good enough role to be fantasy relevant with the amount, of pass catching that he can do.
Mhm.
And it sounds like he is going to get quite a bit of work, coming into this year. So I don't know.
I don't mind that.
Don't snipe
I
us.
mean, yeah, please, please. How about you take a guy like J.K. Dobbins here? Like,
Antonio Gibson.
yeah, there it is.
What
Yeah, we'll
about
take
McLaughlin?
Jaleel here. Yeah.
So we are locked in then. At least we if we do get sniped on Young, we go Knicks. If you're looking at both of those stacks, do you prefer one of those quarterbacks over the other in this late round, or where do you feel between it going Denver versus Carolina stack?
I would say Carolina, just because, simply put, there's no threat of a quarterback playing games over Bryce Young versus Bo
That's true.
Nix. Like, I think Bo Nix starts all 17 games, but that does not mean that that's like set in stone. Versus Bryce Young, like, that he's going to be out there week 1.
For sure. Here you go, Mike Evans or Drake London.
Oh gosh, don't
This
get
is a
me
good one for you.
started.
Ty is low on Drake London, so this is an
Oh,
interesting one for him.
well, go to pull up the board quick here of this draft.
I think this is
And
asking straight up. So you can tell me you can answer value, right? We got Mike Evans going at the end, Drake London going in the first round. So at value, I'd agree Mike Evans for sure.
mhm.
But let's
I
say now straight up, are you thinking Drake London or Mike Evans?
I've literally got them 2 points apart in my rankings, with Mike
Woo.
Evans higher than Drake London. That being said, though, um, I feel like the best way to answer it is, who do you think is going to be the better offense this year, Tampa Bay or Atlanta? And I don't think, you're not going to, like, I'm not going to be mad if you say one or the other. Like, there's an argument for either one of them. So I have to kind of put the value component to the side here. And honestly, I think it would be Drake London, but at the same time, like, I the value, I can't get over the value. It doesn't add up. 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4 in this in the equation for Drake London, in my opinion.
For sure. So I am Drake London. I think Baker threw 4,000 yards and 28 touchdowns last year. I think it's going to be difficult to see him repeat, especially that touchdown number where Mike Evans had half of them. So that's my worry with Mike Evans, is just I don't know if that touchdown number is repeatable. And I don't know how many more yards he's going to get than what we saw last season. Whereas Drake London, I'm a believer in the talent. I think as long as Kirk is back, right? That is the risk. If Kirk isn't back, if Kirk's a shell of his former self, then obviously, it doesn't really matter how good Drake London is, because it's going to be kind of a wash at his current ADP. So that is the risk you run. Like, I think Drake London is definitely riskier, but me personally, I do think he is worth the risk. However, like we said, I don't love taking any wide receiver in the second round, because at the same time, their ceiling is returning on ADP. Their ceiling is not beating ADP. And that's kind of what we look for when we're drafting these guys.
Exactly.
All right, we're a little gross here, Ty. A little gross here. What direction we go? Wide receiver, probably?
I feel like we need to.
Yep.
I was going to say Geno Smith because we get DK, but he just went. And to be completely honest, I think the one wide receiver that we need to go with here is the guy that I have the highest exposure on it, Demarcus Robinson.
Really? So why Demarcus Robinson? Explain.
The Rams last year at least ran in 3 wide receiver sets over 90% of the time. Do I think they maintain that? Probably not. I think it'll be a little more towards like the median. But that being said, when Demarcus Robinson kind of emerged as the 3rd wide receiver in their 3 wide receiver sets, I'm gonna actually, instead of just like saying that like he was really good in 3 wide receiver sets, I'm just gonna pull up his stats from the last like 5 weeks of the season, because for where did he go? Is this the 13th round?
We took him in the end of the 14th. He would have been a 15th round pick probably if we don't take him.
So let me just pull up his week to week finish here. Oh, and we're not going to load. Sorry, this suspense is building
Brutal.
for a late 14th round pick. This is cinema, folks. The last 5 weeks, because he didn't play week 18. 15.5, 13.6, 14.7, 20.2, 13.2.
Wow.
Name me one wide receiver after the 14th round that could give you that on a weekly basis, or at least on in a single week.
That's true. So I'm thinking we go. Oh, sorry, didn't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Just talk about our next pick. I think we go wide receiver again. I don't know if we want to go another bye week 14 guy, since we only have one at wide receiver, so we could go Pop Douglas. Do we want a Wandale? Do we take the QJ shot, even though all the camp news has been awful? Do we
personally, for me, if it's a receiver here, it's going to be a Wandale for me.
You think Wandale? I kind of like that too. Just, dude really hasn't had the shot that you've been kind of hoping for him to have, right, with the injuries. So it's, what happens if he does? That wide receiver 2 role is wide open in New York, behind.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and for whatever reason, it seems like whenever Wandale is healthy, he hasn't maintained health in his career so far. But when he gets on the field, he's kind of a sneaky producer. I mean,
for sure.
Last 5 weeks of their season last year, he had 2 games, 6.5, 4.6, so not great. But he also then had 3 games, 17.5, 19.9, 13.5.
Yeah.
That's another kind of player that, like, who else could give you that in a week in these later rounds?
For sure. And that's what you're looking for. You're just looking for 5 weeks out of these guys. 3 to 5 weeks. You're hoping it's the end. Like, if you get a Demarcus Robinson run at the end of the season, that's awesome. That's when you're really hoping for it, right? Pushing through playoff time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting at right now. We got quarterback, 5 running backs, 7 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends. Obviously, we're going to add one of Bryce Young or Bo Nix. What are you looking for then rest of the draft with our final 3 picks? So we know one's quarterback. What do you look to kind of balance out your team between running back and wide receiver here?
I would even go 2 quarterbacks. If we can get Bo Nix and Bryce Young, I'm happy. Just because, like, I don't really feel great about, leaving with 2 quarterbacks, and on the off chance that Hurts misses time, the guy that we're counting on is Bryce Young. That's it. Like, at least having some kind of insurance behind him makes sense to me. But at the same time, it might not even need to be Bo Nix necessarily. Like, Danny Dimes, rushing upside, Justin Fields, on the chance that he starts week 1 or something like that with his rushing upside. Like, I don't think we need to, like, pigeonhole ourselves into Bo Nix and Bryce Young. I think we're set up to go with one of those guys as our 3rd option.
For sure.
So that being said, I would also maybe look one more running back if there's a guy that intrigues us enough. But if not, golly, Justin Fields, you know what? I'm not going to get mad. Pete Overzet, anyone after the 14th round, like
Yeah.
ADP kind of goes out the window. So like, I'm not going to get mad. So I feel like one position player, just best available, doesn't matter the position. Probably not tight end. I think tight end's off the board for the rest of the draft, but
Would agree with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Do we go Bryce?
oh, we just drafted Wandale. We could get a little Danny Dimes Wandale stack.
Oh, there you go. So we can target that.
Oh,
But do we go Bryce Young here for sure with the next pick to make sure we get that Carolina stack, or do you?
I think we could get Bryce on the come around.
So you want to risk it a little, get a little frisky?
Yeah, just
There were only 2 picks apart.
If you scroll over to the teams picking in between us,
so we do have 2-3 quarterbacks each.
I doubt that one of those teams would want to take a Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't think either of those teams have a Deontay unless you want to check quick on the board, like on the big board. But I don't think any of those teams have a Deontay. That would be the only reason why you would go at Bryce Young.
Does not look. We have a Malik Neighbors here,
which would make me think like we should go Dimes before Bryce then.
For sure. We can try Dimes here. We're gonna get sniped. There's no way we don't. Like, it doesn't matter who we go. There's 100% chance.
We can't have nice things.
There's 100% chance. But we can start with Dimes. I agree. I think he has the higher upside. We've seen him finish as a top 12 quarterback in the past, top 7 quarterback in the past. So definitely possesses that upside. You get that little Wandale stack. It's kind of gross. Well, it doesn't even matter. We don't even get a choice.
Why?
Doesn't even make it to there.
Does that team have only 2 quarterbacks at that point?
Well, we'll take Bryce here.
One. Yeah, Bryce has to be the pick here.
Yeah, they only had one, and it was only Justin Herbert.
That makes sense.
So can't fault him, I guess.
We love a naked Daniel Jones. Like
brutal.
I feel like the later you get with quarterbacks, like you need to get a stack with them just because they don't give you enough week to week.
Mm-hmm.
So, so be it. I think
where do we go here? Think Nick's here?
Probably. There really isn't a wide receiver or a running back that I'm like over, head over heels with. So
I would agree. So yeah, I say we go Knicks. We just get our quarterbacks. We'd be done with it. You're hoping, one of these quarterbacks kind of figures it out late in the year. You kind of get, a stack that not a lot of people are probably taking for cheap is kind of the hope, when we take these guys late. It's one thing, Hayden Winks talked about. When we had him on last season of, you should take these late round stacks that, not a lot of people are interested in, that are kind of gross. They don't cost you really anything, right? I mean, this is the 17th round pick. We're not really finding a league winner here, but if we can find a guy who can plug into our lineup, give us 2 to 3 weeks of scoring, then we're very happy. And that's really all you're looking for. You got
a dart throw that I like
for the last pick.
I like some Justice Hill just because I'll use this as a transition into this question from Noah about Derrick Henry. How y'all feeling on Derrick Henry coming into the season with the Ravens? Ravens made Gus Edwards look good last season. Well, I wouldn't call make Gus Edwards look good, but Gus Edwards just benefited from their team getting towards the goal line so much. And J.K. Dobbins picking up an injury.
Fantasy.
Right. That being said, like Derrick Henry, you know exactly what you're going to get with Derrick Henry. You're going to get a guy that early down, touchdown upside. But my issue, at least with like best ball drafts, you're taking him as the running back 9. That is rich for me because you need Derrick Henry to maintain where he's been for the past 3 seasons in Tennessee. Now, again, Baltimore does run the ball a crap ton as well. So it's not like he's like completely going away from the run in Baltimore, but at the same time, I've seen people call Derrick Henry a league winner, and I'm like, I cannot go that far. It just doesn't. Calling a 30-year-old running back that has so many carries, that has so much, tread on tread on his tires. Like, it just doesn't sit right with me. But at the same time, there's always a place, there's always a value for each player. So if you can, if he goes later than he should go according to ADP, then I'm okay with it. But um, I think it's safe to say I'm not like completely in on Derrick Henry, but in the right situation, in the right draft position, then I would be okay with him.
Did you see the sleeper update on that Titans backfield?
No,
Listed
what? Just now?
Listed Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard as co-RB1s.
So they will quite literally go 50-50.
Have you seen that before?
Never.
Listed two wide running backs as, even if you're running a 50-50 split, I don't know if I've ever seen that.
There's always a 1 and there 2 just on the depth chart, but co-running back ones, that is
I think if anything that scares me off of Pollard and gets me a little more excited about Tyjae Spears, if you're thinking about the longevity of the season and who's more likely to hold up over the whole season, I guess, I mean, Tyjae Spears doesn't have an ACL, so I mean, I guess maybe we shouldn't talk about longevity with him,
right.
But just younger versus older running back is kind of what I was more getting at.
I feel like where these guys are going in drafts, so it doesn't like there isn't like a value in this back. When I say value, like there isn't one guy that is so much more preferred because of where he goes in drafts.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tony Pollard on Underdog ADP, at least he goes 101.
Hill.
Of course we did.
Who do we want?
Of course we did.
I still want to interrupt you, but I was not ready for that. Anybody enticing?
No. Khalid Raymond. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't like it.
We don't like any of it, but that's all right.
No, whatever.
Brutal.
No, so back to Pollard and Spears quick. Pollard goes at running back 29 at pick 101.6 on Underdog, and Spears goes as the running back 32 at pick 108.2. To me, that is not a large enough gap between those two guys to be like, I prefer one over the other. I think they just go in a range where it's like, if I get one of them, cool. There's not one that I'm like, I prefer to have one over the other.
For sure. All right. I'm not trying to mess with you guys. I'm trying to sport bigger. Here's what we're looking at. Will it allow me to? No, it doesn't. All right. So we can recap our team really quick here. Start with Amon-Ra. Then went Achane, DK Metcalf, Jalen Hurts, Calvin Ridley, George Kittle, James Conner, Cortland Sutton, Jonathan Brooks at pick 100, Ezekiel Elliott, Dallas Goedert, Xavier Legette, Jaleel McLaughlin, Demarcus Robinson, Wan'Dale Robinson, Bryce Young, Bo Nix, and Khalif Raymond. Why don't you guys drop us a little grade in that chat? I want to see what you guys think. You can do a letter grade. You can do out of 10. I'll let you decide. But let us know how you think we did. If you thought we sucked, let us know. And I mean, we'll disagree with you, but you can let us know. Ty, how would you grade this draft from us?
Pulling out the handy dandy boogie board here, I give it a B.
Where I'm at.
I think we got good values in this draft. Like, Hurts was a great value. Love that one. I love Calvin Ridley in the 5th. Like, even though it's not technically like a value, I just like where he, where his situation puts him and where he goes in the drafts. I think James Conner is a workhorse in round 7. There were other values that we got, didn't we? Other than
Brooks fell.
Brooks fell. That's another one that I like.
Goddard fell.
Yeah. Like, I don't think there's necessarily like a point in this draft where we went wrong, but I don't think there's exactly a point where like we hit it out of the park either. Like the only like home run pick in my opinion was Hurts, but it wasn't even that like we got like a full round slide on him. It was just 4 picks. So it's like because of that, it feels like it's it was right down the middle of the fairway, really easy, not too complicated. So it's a B.
I would agree. It's tough, especially a B when you're talking about a best ball mania 5, where you do need to have some hit it out of the park, right? I think Ridley, I think Metcalf could have good upside, but you would need stuff to go so right for those guys to look at, and go, ooh, we could have 3 top 12 wide receivers, which is something that you kind of need. So that is kind of where it is. I would agree. I think a B feels right. I don't think it's our most exciting draft. I don't think it's a bad draft. But I think it's just something, we're kind of right down the middle there. Well, we got a mock draft episode coming out tomorrow. Don't want to miss that one.
On the new channel.
On the new Fantasy Football Fellas. If you're following us on YouTube right now, unless you're one of 200 people on the new channel, you're subscribed on the wrong channel. So head over to the new channel and check that out, Fantasy Football Fellas. Make sure you're not on Fantasy Football Fellas. Well, actually, stay on Fantasy Football Fellas Shorts as well. Shorts content will obviously still be going on over there on YouTube, but head on over to the other one. If you're on Facebook following along with us, head on over to both Fantasy Football Fellas and Fantasy Football Shorts on YouTube. And then if you're on Twitter, head on over to both as well. So I think let's
just a reminder. Yeah. Oh yeah.
We can answer one more question quick before we do our last little sign off. Is Stroud worth getting in the 4th? This is something we've kind of talked about a little bit. Ty, you are very out. I'm out as well. What is the reason that we're out? Let's give Jeff our reason for being a little bit out on Stroud in the 4th.
So lack of rushing upside is probably the number one reason. But the number 2 reason is that you need a lot from the arm of CJ Stroud. Can the offense support that? There's a chance that it could. But at the same time, the last guy, I mean, like, I'm pulling this right off the top of my head. Like, I don't have this written down or anything. But the last time that we saw a guy just finish as a top 3 fantasy quarterback or even the number 1 quarterback overall in fantasy with just his arm talent was Aaron Rodgers. What was that, 3 years ago when he won MVP, but it was because he threw for like 40 touchdowns and like 4,500 yards, 4,300 yards, even something like that, and didn't turn the ball over. Like it takes, I don't want to call it an outlier year, but it takes an incredibly special year to, make it feel like it's a pick well spent, especially in the 4th round. Now it's a different question if it's super flex. Because I think Stroud in the 4th round in a super flex is a great pick. But if it's just a single QB league, there are guys that give you much more upside that will, may not give you the 19 points per week that CJ Stroud could maybe give you, and they might be giving you 17 per week, but they might give you 30 on a given week versus CJ Stroud might give you 27 on a good day.
Yeah. So Rodgers had 4,300 yards that year, but he also had 48 touchdowns, meaning Stroud would have to double his touchdown numbers from last year if he wanted to kind of reach that point, which is an extremely lofty goal for a guy entering his 2nd year. Not saying he couldn't, but I'm probably giving it less than a 1% chance that it happens, that he reaches 48 touchdowns. So that's kind of the mark he's got to get into the top 3. That's why, even Patrick Mahomes, it kind of feels hard taking him at the, quarterback 4. He runs a lot more than Stroud does, but he needs one of those fantastic MVP seasons to finish in the top 3. So that's kind of where we're at with quarterbacks. Like we said, we have the mock draft coming out tomorrow. We have 6 running backs we can't stop drafting coming out on Wednesday with me and Ty. Then we have 9 wide receivers we can't stop drafting coming out on Thursday with me, Ty, and Lucas. We got some great shorts coming out, some how to draft videos. I know, Ty, you're dropping one of those on Wednesday. I got riskiest and safe pick shorts coming out Tuesday, Thursday. So we got a ton of content coming out for you guys.
Now, remember, we are on a new Fantasy Football Fellas channel for our podcast where It is essentially what we talk about in our minute-long videos that we post on our Shorts channel, but we just dive more in depth. We give you more stats, more arguments, more takes, all of that fun stuff. So if you want to hear the fully fledged out arguments for the guys instead of the 15-second snippets that you might see in our Shorts videos, head on over to the new channel, hit subscribe. We are doing our draft guide giveaway through the rest of the summer until the start of the regular season. All you got to do is you have to be subscribed to the channel. You have to just comment on the most recent post and most recent video on that new channel once a new video goes live. You know, quite literally anything. You could literally tell us what's up, and that enters you into the giveaway. We do a, winner is chosen at the end of every week, I believe it is. And I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's an update that we post just right on the page of who is the winner.
Video.
Yes. So
tag the person.
Yep. So it is, absolutely free to enter the giveaway. Otherwise it is, actually, I shouldn't even say that. There's another way you can get the draft guide for free. You just go over to Underdog Fantasy, you use the code FELLAS, where they will give you a bonus match up to $250, and they will give you an Olympic free square. Like I said at the very top of this, the U.S. men's national basketball team plays tomorrow. You will get a free square of one of those players for that game. And again, you get our draft guide for absolutely free $3 in free cents. So use the code FELLAS on Underdog. Again, draft guide giveaway on our new channel. Subscribe over to the new channel. Am I missing anything?
I don't think so. I think you nailed that one.
Yes.
Right on the head. Boom.
Shameless plugs.
Beautiful. Oh, last thing. Lucas will be live on Wednesday with one of us.
Yes. Yes.
Whoever is the unlucky one between the two of us has to go live with Lucas. So don't worry. We will make it interesting for Lucas, so you don't have to worry about his dry personality.
Oh, man.
Just throwing shots.
Jeez. When the host is away is when we take the shots at the guy.
Yes.
You
take him down.
You guys, so it's kind of a running joke, at least among the three of us, for all of you that are still on here, that the one person that's been on the podcast the most is this guy. And you know why? It's because I don't want to get roasted when I'm off the podcast. You guys, whenever someone's off the podcast or off a live stream, they get roasted by the other two guys. And so I don't want that to happen. That's why I'm on almost every episode.
Room boasted. For sure. Alrighty. Well, like I said, make sure you check out the video tomorrow. And we will see you guys hopefully on Wednesday. Deuces.